There's a little orange box in your kitchen that costs about $1, and it can quietly do half the jobs those expensive fungicides and pest sprays at the garden center promise. Baking soda isn't magic, but used the right way, in the right amount, it fixes problems gardeners spend real money on. The trouble is, almost nobody explains how to use it correctly or when to leave it in the kitchen. So today we're separating the genuinely useful from the internet nonsense. Grab that orange box and let's dig in. Number 1. Stops powdery mildew before it takes over. If you've ever walked out to your squash, cucumbers, or roses and found their leaves dusted with what looks like white flour, you've met powdery mildew. It's one of the most common fungal diseases in the home garden, and once it sinks its teeth in, it spreads fast, coating leaves, blocking sunlight, and slowly choking the plant's ability to feed itself. This is where baking soda earns its keep. When you spray a diluted baking soda solution onto plant leaves, it raises the pH on the leaf surface, creating an environment that fungal spores simply do not like. The alkaline film makes it much harder for the mildew to germinate and establish itself. Here's the part you need to hear though, because most videos skip it. Baking soda works best as a preventative and as an early intervention, not as a rescue mission. If your plant is already buried under fungus, a kitchen spray is not going to bring it back from the dead. But if you catch it at the first white speck, or you spray vulnerable plants before mildew season even starts, you can dramatically slow it down. The recipe is simple. Mix about 1 tablespoon of baking soda into 1 gallon of water, add a couple of drops of liquid dish soap so it sticks to the leaves, and pour it into a spray bottle. Coat the leaves thoroughly, tops and undersides, and reapply weekly, especially after rain washes it off. Spray in the cool of the morning or evening, never in blazing midday sun, and avoid drenching the soil. Use this way, that dollar box becomes one of the gentlest, most pollinator-friendly fungus fighters in your shed. Number 2. Gives you a free soil pH test. Before you spend a dime on fertilizer or amendments, there is one thing worth knowing about your garden: whether your soil leans acidic or alkaline. It determines which plants will thrive, which will sulk, and whether the nutrients in the ground are even available to your roots. And while you can buy a test kit, you have already got a rough and ready version sitting in your pantry. Here's the trick. Scoop up a cup of soil from the spot you want to test and split it into 2 small containers. To the first, add a splash of vinegar. If it fizzes and bubbles, your soil is alkaline because the acidic vinegar is reacting with the alkaline soil. To the second container, add a little water to make mud, then sprinkle in some baking soda. If that one fizzes, your soil is acidic because the alkaline baking soda is reacting with the acid in the ground. If neither one does much of anything, congratulations, your soil is probably close to neutral, which is the sweet spot for a huge range of plants. Now, let us be honest about what this test is and is not. It will not give you a precise number, and it is no replacement for a proper lab test if you are troubleshooting a serious problem. But as a free 60-second gut check before planting season, it is genuinely useful. It tells you whether your blueberries are going to love your dirt or whether your roses are going to struggle, and it costs you nothing but 2 pinches of pantry staples. Number 3. Builds a barrier against slugs and snails. Few things are more demoralizing than walking out at dawn to find your seedlings shredded overnight by slugs and snails. These slimy little vandals do their worst in the dark and disappear by morning, leaving you with chewed leaves and no culprit in sight. Baking soda can help, and the reason comes down to what it fundamentally is: a salt. Soft-bodied pests like slugs and snails are extremely sensitive to salt, which draws moisture out of their bodies. Sprinkled directly on a slug, baking soda will dehydrate it. Laid down as a barrier, it makes a strip of ground that slugs and snails strongly prefer not to cross. The smart way to use this is as a perimeter defense. Lay a ring of baking soda around the outside of a raised bed or the rim of a container, the edges, the legs of a bench, the threshold these pests have to cross to reach your plants. What you do not want to do is dump it directly into the soil around your plant's roots, and here is why. Baking soda is sodium, and sodium builds up in soil. Too much can stunt or burn the very plants you are trying to protect. So keep it on the hardscape and the bed edges, reapply after rain since it washes away easily, and treat it as one layer of defense rather than a magic force field. It's a cheap, non-toxic first line that keeps the slug patrol away from your tender new growth. Number 4. Scrambles ant trails. If you've ever watched ants march across your patio in a perfect, unwavering line, you've witnessed one of nature's tidiest navigation systems. Ants lay down invisible chemical scent trails that tell the rest of the colony exactly where to go. To your hummingbird feeder, into your potted plants, straight to wherever they have decided the food is. Baking soda quietly sabotages that system. When you lightly dust it over the areas where ants travel, it interferes with those scent trails, and the ants lose the thread. Without their chemical breadcrumbs, the orderly procession breaks down and they wander off course instead of streaming toward your plants. The best application tool here is a flour sifter or a small shaker, which lets you lay down a thin, even dusting rather than a heavy pile. Target the trails, the entry points, and the cracks where they're coming through, not your plants themselves and not the root zone of anything you care about, for the same sodium buildup reason we keep coming back to. This won't wipe out a whole colony, and if you've got a serious infestation, you'll need a more direct approach. But for the casual line of ants treating your container garden like a highway, a light dusting of baking soda is enough to send them looking for a different route, and no toxic ant spray is required near your food crops. Number 5. Kills weeds in sidewalk cracks and patio joints. Every gardener knows the frustration of weeds erupting between paving stones, in driveway cracks, and along the seams of a patio, those stubborn little invaders that root themselves in places you can't easily dig. Baking soda is genuinely effective here, and again, it is the salt that's doing the work. When you apply baking soda heavily to weeds growing in cracks and crevices, the sodium disrupts their water balance and dries them out. The simplest method is to lightly mist the weeds with water so the baking soda sticks, then dust a generous amount directly onto the foliage and into the crack at the base of the plant. The moisture helps carry it down toward the roots, and over the next several days you will see the weeds yellow, brown, and wither. But this is the use that comes with the biggest warning label, so listen closely. Baking soda does not know the difference between a weed and a prized tomato. The same salt that kills the weed in your driveway will damage anything growing nearby, and it lingers in soil where it can make the ground inhospitable to future plants. That's exactly why this trick belongs on hardscape, on sidewalks, driveways, patio joints, and gravel paths where you want nothing to grow at all. Keep it far away from garden beds, lawns, and anything you're trying to cultivate. Used in the right place, it is a free biodegradable weed killer for all those annoying cracks. Used in the wrong place, it is a slow way to ruin good soil. Location is everything. Number 6. Restores crusty terracotta pots and tools to like new. Pull a terracotta pot off the shelf after a season of use and you'll often find it crusted with chalky white deposits, mineral salts, and hard water residue that build up in the porous clay over time. Your trowels and pruners, meanwhile, get caked with dried sap, dirt, and grime. This is where baking soda shines as a cleaner instead of a garden chemical, and it's one of its safest, most reliable jobs. Baking soda is a mild abrasive, which means it scrubs away buildup without scratching surfaces or leaving behind harsh residues that could hurt next season's plants. For a crusty clay or terracotta pot, brush off the loose soil first, then make a paste of baking soda and a little water, about the consistency of hand lotion, and rub it onto the salt deposits and stains. Let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes so the alkalinity can break down the gunk, then scrub it off with a sponge or brush and rinse thoroughly. For really stubborn mineral crust, a soak in a vinegar and water solution first will dissolve the deposits, and then the baking soda paste handles the rest. On garden tools, you can work a little vinegar into the baking soda paste to help cut through sap and surface rust, leaving your blades and handles clean. The beauty here is that you're cleaning with something completely non-toxic. There are no leftover chemicals to leach into the soil when you repot, no fumes, no gloves required. Just rinse everything well, let it dry completely, and your pots and tools come out looking like you bought them yesterday for pennies. Number 7. Knocks down the stink from your compost bin. A healthy compost pile shouldn't smell terrible, but anyone who composts knows that sometimes it does. That sour, eye-watering funk when the balance tips too far toward wet, nitrogen-rich greens like food scraps and grass clippings. Baking soda is a famous deodorizer indoors, and a light touch can take the edge off compost odor outdoors too. The way it helps is by neutralizing some of the acidity that contributes to the smell. A sparing sprinkle over the surface layer when you add a fresh batch of food waste or lawn clippings can pull out odor without immediately wrecking the pile. Now here's where I have to be straight with you, because this is one of the most misunderstood baking soda tips out there. Compost depends on a thriving population of microorganisms to break everything down, and those microbes do their best work in a slightly acidic to neutral environment. Baking soda is alkaline and salty, so dump in too much and you'll knock back the very bacteria your pile needs, slowing decomposition to a crawl. So the honest verdict is this: a tiny occasional sprinkle to manage a temporary stink is fine, but baking soda is not a long-term fix, and it's not the real solution. The actual cure for a smelly compost pile is balance. Add more browns like dry leaves, shredded cardboard, or straw to soak up excess moisture and bring the nitrogen back into proportion. Use baking soda as the quick patch and fix the recipe for the real repair. Number 8. Scrubs your hands. Clean after a day in the dirt. This one isn't about your plants at all. It's about you, and it's the trick almost no gardening video bothers to mention. After an afternoon of pulling weeds, turning soil, and handling roots, your hands end up ingrained with dirt, stained, and sometimes carrying that earthy smell that regular hand soap just won't fully lift. The dirt seems to settle into every line and around every nail. Baking soda fixes it fast. Wet your hands, then rub a spoonful of baking soda over them like a scrub. The same mild abrasiveness that cleans your pots works on your skin, lifting ground in dirt and sloughing off the dead, grimy top layer while neutralizing odors at the same time. Work it into your knuckles, around your nails, and across your palms, then rinse with warm water. You'll notice two things immediately. Your hands come out genuinely cleaner than soap alone managed, and that lingering soil smell is gone, replaced by nothing at all. It also gently exfoliates, so rough, dry gardeners' hands feel a little smoother afterward. It's such a small thing, but it's the kind of detail that makes the whole gardening routine feel more pleasant. Coming inside without scrubbing at your nails for 10 minutes under the faucet. Keep a little dish of baking soda by the outdoor spigot or the mudroom sink, and you'll reach for it every single time you come in from the garden. Number 9. Eases soil acidity for alkaline-loving blooms. Here's the one you've probably seen plastered all over the internet with wild promises that baking soda will make your tomatoes sweeter, your flowers more abundant, your garden a paradise. So let's handle it with the honesty it deserves, because there's a small kernel of truth buried under a mountain of exaggeration. The real chemistry: baking soda is alkaline, so adding it to soil does temporarily reduce acidity. It nudges the pH upward. For a handful of plants that genuinely prefer slightly alkaline, near-neutral soil, think clematis, lilacs, geraniums, and begonias, a very dilute solution can create conditions a bit more to their liking. A common approach is mixing about a tablespoon of baking soda into 2 quarts of water and using it to water those specific plants no more than once a month. But here's the truth the hype videos won't tell you. The pH change from baking soda is small and short-lived, and because it's a salt, repeated use builds up sodium that can harm your plants and degrade your soil over time. The popular claim that it makes tomatoes sweeter is largely a myth. A tomato's flavor is driven mostly by its variety, sunlight, and temperature, not by a brief tweak in soil pH. And the idea that it boosts flowering has little real evidence behind it. The added salt can do more harm than good. So if you actually need to raise your soil's pH for the long haul, garden lime or wood ash is the proper lasting tool, not baking soda. Treat this final use as a gentle, occasional plant-specific helper for alkaline lovers, applied with a light hand and a healthy dose of skepticism. Knowing the limits is what separates a smart gardener from someone chasing internet promises. There you have it, 9 real jobs that little orange box can pull off in the garden, from stopping mildew in its tracks to scrubbing the dirt out from under your nails, along with the honest truth about where it helps and where it can quietly do harm. The secret with baking soda was never about using more of it, it's about using it in the right spot, in the right amount, at the right time. If this saved you a trip to the garden center, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Then go try one of these out in your own garden and come tell us in the comments which one actually worked for you. We read every single one, and your results might just help the next gardener watching.